Hello, this is Greg Allison with Galactic Greg's coming to you live on the 14th of December 22. Time on deck 1600 hours. My friends, what you're seeing here is a view of a leakage. Hang on. Of a leakage found from a Soyuz spacecraft on the International Space Station. This leakage caused a spacewalk to have to be postponed today, and this happened this evening. And furthermore, this leakage might actually mean that perhaps the astronauts themselves, or at least some of them, may have to hitchhike home. Well, all's not lost, but this spacecraft might possibly be. It leaked for 3 hours. So it's got to have an issue at this point after leaking for 3 solid hours. Now, I am going to kind of relay some of this to you, what it might mean from the aspects of the spacecraft itself. Hang on, guys. Let's see what impact what I'm doing here on the screen has to do with what you're seeing. All right. So here's, trying to adjust my screens here, guys. It's a little bit tricky. Sometimes when I am sharing the screen, but I cover up part of it, y'all don't see it. I don't know, it's really odd. Okay, I don't seem to be having a problem right now. Very good, very good. All right, here's what you need to know. The Soyuz M22 spacecraft attached to the Raspberry module of the International Space Station was found to be significantly leaking what was initially thought to be an unknown chemical while the staff were making preparations for this evening's planned spacewalk by Roscosmos astronauts Sergei Prokopyev, pardon me if I murder their names, and Dmitry Petlin. Ground teams in Moscow assessed the nature of the fluid and potential effects on the integrity of the Soyuz spacecraft, which carried NASA astronauts Frank Rubio and Prokopyev and Petlin into space after taking off from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan on the 21st of September. And of course, the spacewalk has been postponed, guys. And furthermore, they discovered a significant coolant leak. That's what they found this to be. And of course, this thing is docked to the International Space Station for those just joining. So I'm going to kind of recapitulate here. People are just joining this live session. And so flight controllers spent some time trying to diagnose this issue. Turns out the leak was from the Soyuz M22 spacecraft. I'm repeating this for the newcomers here. It apparently came from the coolant system. It was discovered today, again, today being 14 December at 19:45 hours. That's 7:45 p.m. for you civilians, Eastern Standard Time, or 00:45 Greenwich Mean Time for them on December 15th. So anybody from England here, you might already be on the 15th, right? So it's on or about an hour and 40 minutes before Sergei Prokopyev and Dmitry Petlin, the Russian Federation Space Company Roscosmos, was scheduled to start their 6-hour, 49-minute spacewalk. The two cosmonauts had already put on their spacesuits and were about to start depressurization of the airlock for their extravehicular activity when they had to cancel it. Instead, they repressurized the airlock and returned to the space station. Good thing is they never were actually themselves in danger. Now, they might have been if they went outside, just because, all that liquid, you might have slipped on something, might have lost your hand grip. So now they should have been safe, though, most likely. But, that's a chemical. You don't want to bring chemicals back in. It could have been a propellant. They're saying coolant. And so they're assuming this was a coolant leak, but I'm not 100% sure that they know that for certain. They probably do. They probably watch their indicators, their dials, their pressurization systems inside their mission control there in Kazakhstan or wherever they have a mission control in Russia. Probably watch the pressure decrease and go, oh, okay, that's what it is. The Soviet spacecraft, as you can see from this video here, was ejecting what look like frozen flakes, like snowflakes in the space. You can see it on the camera there, guys, on the outside of the space station. Although not yet proven, as I mentioned, that the leak, they think this leak originated from the outside coolant system close to the vehicle's rear. So these cosmonauts were reassured by flight controllers that the space station itself was secure, and the leak did last, but just for 3 hours. In September, I think I carried this live, this launch, this spacecraft on this channel, guys, back in September. NASA astronauts Frank Rubio, Prokopyev, and Petlin launched this Soyuz M-22 spacecraft. The vehicle serves both as the 3-member crew members' intended means for transportation and the transportation home, supposedly in March. And it's a lifeboat in case anything happens on the space station if they have to escape. So this thing is up there as a lifeboat and as their ship home. Well, it may work for neither one. So they may be a little short on lifeboats should everybody on the station have to evacuate at this point. Because at this point, there would be a Crew Dragon capsule that was probably, well, the Crew Dragon might be able to take care of it. I think the Crew Dragon really can take 7 people, and there's 7 astronauts on board right now. The postponed EVA was intended to move a radiator from one Russian module to another a second time on 24 November, while the two were about to leave the space station. A problem with the water coolant pump on Prokopyev's Orlan spacesuit was discovered, so they had to cancel that spacewalk. Like I said, there's presently 7 crew members living there on the International Space Station, 3 Russian cosmonauts, 3 NASA astronauts, and 1 astronaut from Japan. It is not presently known if the Soyuz can return to Earth in a secure manner. It is necessary. If necessary, Roscosmos may launch an unmanned Soyuz and have it docked to the space station on its own. Soyuz typically has people in it like that to pilot it, but it is capable of totally autonomous docking, just as the Progress module that brings cargo to the space station. The Progress and the Soyuz are almost identical modules, and maybe differences inside for crew provisions. And I'm not sure that the Progress has a heat shield on it, so that's probably different. So typically, Soyuz spacecraft reaches the orbiting station 200 miles above Earth, and like I said, it usually docks there on its own, even when it has crew on board. So it's quite possible that they could send the Soyuz spacecraft up to do the docking. That's absolutely possible, which means it would probably need to eject this one from the space station if they can, if it's going to have propellant. That might be another problem. This thing's going to have enough propellant or something to get off the space station, or something to give it a departing rate from the space station so that it won't have a risk of re-collision into the space station. It might, well, I don't think this thing has a power data or grapple fixture on it that's compatible with the Canadian robot arm, the space station manipulator system. If it does, then they could go up there and dock, or excuse me, grab it with a space station remote manipulator's arm, and maybe give it just a little bit of departing impulse so that it would clear away from the station over time. But that would be kind of a risky maneuver. I don't know if they got an extra port for another Soyuz. So this, there's a lot of things to be decided here, how they get rid of this thing eventually, or is it going to become a permanent part of the ISS and just be stuck there? There's a lot we don't know yet, guys. So there's some drama here. It's still unfolding. I'll have to come back and give you updates as we find out more about this. I went live today because this has just happened, and I want to be among the breaking news. A few other channels got on here and started covering it before I did, but I was trying to get my resources and put together the story on it. And I actually did a little bit of artwork for a thumbnail. Now, it's always better if you post a thumbnail before you do the video, because the way if I post it on Facebook and on the user groups, it always grabs whatever default thumbnail goes with my channel, and I'll never use the whatever second thumbnail I post up. I hate that about Facebook. I don't know why it does that, but it's just one of the little crazy things you got to deal with. So I'll lose the advantage of the spec that I've invested some time and effort into making a piece of artwork. Although I used AI to do it, it still took a good bit of time, and it was nobody died. Nobody died. We can make it, at least not yet, Arnold. We have to wait on the pressures. Yeah, I don't know if they were able to stop this thing or if it just bled out completely. After 3 hours of outgassing like that, I would imagine this thing bled out completely. Whatever system that this was probably non-functional. And that means most likely they won't be able to fly this spacecraft home. My question is, can they get the spacecraft off the space station to free its docking port? I think that's a good question, guys. So what can they do that? I've not heard anybody ask that question, but that's when you got a rocket scientist here in the room, guys. I've worked in the International Space Station. I spent quite a few years working this project. And I was earlier looking at some grapple fixtures for the space station for a potential use on another project that I would like to do. So I could bring that up. I might do that tonight if we come back on and go live later. But I just covered the succinct part of the story for this video. And that story, let's see, I have any other things open here. Nothing worth bringing up. There's this article on NASA was still written from the standpoint they didn't know what it was. So this is what I was dealing with at first. So this does give you a picture of the overall space station. Get some idea where this thing is. Right here is where the Soyuz M22 is located. So stuff is leaking out down here. See, and they got a Progress cargo vehicle back here. There's only so many docking ports. Now that's an odd place for it there. I'm surprised they're docked there. There's the Cygnus. This is the cargo docking. This is the cargo vehicle that Northrop Grumman sends up. And looks like we got 2 Crew Dragons up there. Actually, the Crew Dragons, oh no, we got a Cargo Dragon and Crew Dragon. I don't know. I don't think the Cargo Dragon's got a heat shield on it. Actually, I think the Crew Dragon could take 7 home if it needed to. So look here. They've actually got 5 spacecraft docked to the ISS right now. 2, a Cargo Dragon, a Crew Dragon. U.S. Cargo Cygnus 18, a manable Soyuz MS-22, and a Progress 81. Oh no, they got a Progress 82 up here. Excuse me. Wow. There's 6 independent spacecrafts docked to the ISS. 2 Russian cargo vehicles. Now this one being docked where it is, right into the functional control block that, or what are the modules? I forget the name. Functional control block was the name. Which one do a module? This is actually, this is docked through the axis of the ISS. This module here would reboost the International Space Station, help keep it in orbit. It would thrust this way and push the entire station along to maintain its orbit. So the Progress 81 would do that job. So if they take the Russian segment off, we don't supposedly have anything directly that could do that, but I think probably a Cargo Dragon or something docked down here could do it, not from up here. It would have to be docked in line with the main axes of these modules in order to properly impart the thrust to the ISS. So this is kind of interesting, guys, what we're going to do here. This is the Japanese module here. So they got Japanese, got one guy up there. That's their extended facility. This is the Japanese robot arm. They've had another little robot arm, a small fine arm. This is their extended payload facility. That's their upper lab. This is a mobile remote servicer with space station remote manipulator arm on it. So that's the arm that I was thinking. Yeah, it can't even get to this Progress Soyuz MS-22. You can't even get to it. Now it can inchworm over power data grapple fixtures over the space station where there's power data grapple fixtures, but I don't think the Russian segment has those. If they did, and if there was one on Soyuz, it could deal with the Soyuz, but I seriously doubt they got that kind of stuff. Now the Russians have a little robot arm on their system. I don't know if it can reach out to the Soyuz, and if it could dock with it. That's a fair distance between these two modules. So I don't know if that's possible. So how they get this guy off and do so safely remains to be seen. As long as the reaction control system didn't leak out, they might still be able to get off. If the coolant means that the avionics in it can't be cooled and it would overheat and couldn't turn on and function properly, they'd have an issue with that too. So I don't know what their systems are. I don't know how they're related, how this thing will operate. I'm not an expert on the Soyuz avionics systems, how they work. So I couldn't tell you what it's going to take to get this bird off this bird. But I'm sure they want to do that because they need all the docking ports free for future missions, or they're going to be limited. Having a hanger on like that is a limit, although they'll probably use it as a storage locker to put junk in if they needed to. They might could do that, just an extra storage locker. Now this is node 2 right here. This is node 3. Node 1 would be up here. Probably this was node 1 at. There's 3 international. Oh wait, I may have moved it. Well, yeah, the cupola right here. The cupola was originally set to be on node 2. They must have moved it. And the cupola used to be up here. Because at least it's in NADAR, but it's usually where you can watch the robotics. That's interesting. They actually got the cupola here now. So the cupola is movable. Wow, interesting. That's an airlock out here. Okay, they've done some work on it. So at least it's not the space station radiators leaking or something like that. I always worry about these guys leaking because they got a lot of area to them. And if they take an impact or even now these radiators are from the solar power modules themselves. So that's kind of what this whole thing looks like, guys, just to give you a background. Blue Cucina sign. Hey, I did a video talking about Blue Cucina, guys. All right, let me check the chat real fast, and then we're going to go. And I got to get ready. I'll try to get ready to do a show on green grids. Francois Johnson says hi. How many people we got in the house? We got 38 people in the house. We got thumbs up. I don't see a thumb. Oh, we got 17 thumbs up. Hey guys, help me out. Help my channel, guys. Marie. Hi, Marie. Granny. Charles Stansbury. Tim Satori. Wise Al. Busy night in the world. Yeah. Arnold. John Long. Granny. Arnold. Judy. See in the house, Judy. Apparently, I was just shopping at Lehman's for later. Awesome, cool. Hope you're using my link. Yeah, it's a sad end time. You know, stuff happens. It's just part of systems. The key thing is to know what it is and know how to deal with it. You know, systems fail. It could have had a puncture from a micrometeoroid, or it could have just been it had stress cracks in it, and from the launch and over time and pressure, they just finally gave away. I don't know what it is. Hi, all from Cole, Northeast Arizona. How you doing, Jesse? Nip you for real. Captain Trips, good to see you. Let's see. Hey, Bat Witch, Wiggler. What's vent, fuel or atmosphere? They're thinking that was coolant. No, those Dragons are American. There's no Chinese components on the International Space Station. China, because their space program is military. Chinese space program is run by their military, and NASA is prohibited from operating directly with the military of another country. So NASA never allowed China to become a partner in the International Space Station. So China launched their own space station. They just launched. I've talked about that. So Chinese have a brand new space station that'll be up for some time, and we're about to have none. All right, Fazioli, how you doing? Yes, Lee, IHOP. Break the fast. Okay. I'll be trying to jury rig the MacGyver. There you go. They might need a MacGyver up there. They need somebody with a Swiss Army knife. They just needed to get a cork out of the wine bottle. Oh, there you go. Tap the hole. Some chewing gum. Some duct tape. All right, guys. We had our fun here. Blow that up for a second. So that's what the ISS looks like. And if you're just joining, this is the leak. That leak ran for about 3 hours, which suggests it's now over. These are reaction control thrusters right here. Those are engine nozzles. You see these? And these, if there is still fuel in the system, and they could operate those and move the spacecraft. I do not know what this apparatus here is. It could be a camera. I don't know what that is. It looks like something that's folded out and can probably rotate back in. Maybe that slot is for this thing to fold up into. I don't know what that is. It might be a camera. I have no idea. So the Soyuz is not in my area of expertise. So here's another protrusion. What is this guy? I don't see any grapple fixtures for robotics on this device here, on the Soyuz spacecraft. This is a portion that crew would normally return in. When they're flying, there's a spherical part that's in front of this that they set in. Let me show you that back and get the other diagram here. Yeah. You see the Soyuz, this is the Soyuz. That's like the service module back here on the back side. Right here, and part of that. This area right here is actually a capsule that the crew would return in. This sphere is what they set in when they're launched, though. So they launch in this, but they can return that. So it's like a two-part system. It's a very different architecture from what we're used to. See, in American architecture, all this is one and the same. Like this capsule here, and you can see, look how big the SpaceX Crew Dragon, and this is an American capsule. Look how big that is compared to this. It's much bigger. And in fact, this whole thing would fit in a space shuttle cargo bay. Now, when we first started sending space stations up to the former Russian Mir space station, at first the Russians were a little reticent, let's come up there, because it would have been quite obvious how tiny their Soyuz was compared to our space shuttle. But on the other hand, they launched these a whole lot cheaper than we launched the space shuttle too. Much, much cheaper. So again, this is the Russian segment. This module, this module, this module, and this module. Now they got some nodes here. It looks like, I believe they might be able to dock Soyuz on right here. That's a possibility. So they may have enough ports, but I'm still thinking they'd probably want to get this thing off if they can remove it safely. Kind of surprised where this thing is docked up. This guy is attached to a node. This guy is directly attached to a node hatch. And that's some way that some of the crew programs were intended to begin with. Just got a huge access. And that was the way also the Italian multi-purpose logistics modules used to attach the space station. But they had to be carried up by the space shuttle. And they built 4 of them. They named them after the artist that had the same name as the Ninja Turtles. So let's see. But those were built by Alenia. Alenia, which is a company in Torino or Turin, Italy, and I've been there. I saw the shroud when I was there, by the way. They also built nodes 2 and 3. That would be the lab module. That was built by Boeing. Boeing built node 1 of the International Space Station. The truss concept was devised by a guy who was part of our old Northrop Grumman, back then Grumman Space Station team that I was on when I was doing Space Station Freedom Program. But it was actually built by the part of Boeing that used to be McDonnell Douglas. Every one of these segments came to the Marshall Space Flight Center for some tests and integration before they were approved to fly on the International Space Station. And that was built in Huntsville and built in 4208, I believe. So was Node 1. That was built in Alenia. I don't know if those were ever flown to Marshall or not. So this would be the European module over here. This is the European module. That's the Japanese module. probably node 1 over here. Well, that might be node 2. This could be node 1 here. I don't know. They've rearranged them. So I have to go back and see what the current arrangements are. But that's a node, and that's a node. We've got 3 nodes up there. That is node 2. I know that. I'm guessing that's node 3 probably. Although the Keepler used to be on node 2. So I know what they've done. They've moved it so they can put this up there. Actually, that's a better location for it because being in the nadir facing down to Earth, those windows won't be as likely to be hit by space debris as they would be if they were up there when we wanted to put this thing originally. I didn't like it when they wanted to put it up there. It gave them a better view of the truss, though. We're going to watch and control the robotics operate. I don't think they can see any of that from here, but they got a lot of camera views out there. Anyway, I run my yaps enough about this. Just hope Greta isn't watching this. You can hear her voice. How dare you? Oh, Arnold. All right, guys. So we're going to stop the share. Bing, bing. Halo. Hang a rocket from a balloon and off we go. We're going to fly a rocket into space. We're going to begin the amateur space race. Halo. What got me this? Ho, ho, ho. How's everybody doing today? All right, guys, we're going to go over to galactic graves in a little bit. I got to get a few things sorted out, so it's going to be a little bit before I go on there. So, we're going green graves. Excuse me, we're at galactic graves. So, those of you who want to watch me there, we'll go live there in a few. So, hey, Scratch, how you doing? Scratch, where Scratch is at, it's the 15th of December. Here, it's still the 14th of December, but only for about 17 minutes. So for Arnold, it'll be the 14th for 17 minutes and an hour. Oh, New Days is already the 15th. That's where we're going, Green Gregs. All right, thank you, Granny. Rocket Man Santa, that's me. Here I am sitting on a rocket. You see the plume coming out? Going to the moon. That's built by Susan of the Blue Bottle Bunny Farm. All right. There we go. All right, guys. See y'all in a minute over at Green Greg's. That